so boring. Or at least, it was. Until the sky decided to crack open like a giant dark egg. A colossal shadow fell over quiet Elm Street, swallowing houses whole. This was bigger than a bus, bigger than the school. It wasn't a plane. It wasn't some weather balloon. It looked like, could it be? Yes, a chicken. A monstrous, gleaming, metallic chicken, descending without a sound from the swirling, stormy clouds above, its beady window eyes fixed on the street below. Tom nudged his best friend Lily. You seeing this, right? He stammered, his voice barely a whisper, trembling like the last leaf on a winter tree. This just wasn't happening. It simply couldn't be real. But it was real. Terribly real. Curiosity, that sneaky nagging feeling, began to bubble up inside Tom and Lily. And then there was Max, their neighbor, who thought danger was just another word for fun. They crept from the safety of Tom's porch, darting behind Mrs. Gable's prize-winning petunias, their hearts pounding like frantic drum solos. A ramp hissed open from the underbelly of the giant chicken ship. A pale, sickly yellow light spilled out onto the damp lawn, like a rotten egg yolk. It was an invitation, a silent, terrifying invitation. Before they could even think to scream, an invisible force grabbed them. It pulled them, hard. Up the ramp they slid, sneakers scrabbling uselessly, right into the dark, clucking horror of the ship. Slam! Whoomp! The ramp snapped shut behind them, sealing their fate. Darkness, utter, complete darkness. Cold metallic air filled their lungs. It smelled faintly of burnt feathers and ozone. Then lights flickered on. Not normal lights. Strange, pulsating yellow lights that made everything look greasy and wrong. And then they saw them, floating, bobbing gently in the eerie glow. They were green, slimy looking, like giant uncooked egg yolks given hideous life. Each one was encased in a transparent, perfectly egg-shaped robot suit. They had no legs, just little whirring anti-gravity discs at the bottom of their eggshells, keeping them silently afloat. Their single, enormous, unblinking eyes swiveled, focusing directly on the three terrified children. Gurgle, bubble, hiss, pop! That was the only sound the creatures made, a wet, disgusting symphony of horror. The Yolkians, for what else could these nightmare beings be, drifted closer, their egg robots humming a low, menacing tune that vibrated deep in Tom's chest. One reached out a shiny silver, pincer-like arm. Lily let out a tiny yelp, quickly stifled. Max tried to back away, but there was nowhere to go. They were surrounded, completely and utterly trapped inside a giant metal chicken spaceship with creatures seemingly made of breakfast gone bad. The gurgling intensified, and the Yolkians herded them forward with gentle yet firm robotic nudges, deeper into the bizarre, terrifying spaceship. Their Friday night adventure had just turned into a grade A extra-large nightmare. The Yolkians didn't walk, they glided. They prodded Tom, Lily, and Max down a long, curving corridor. The walls weren't straight, they bulged and curved, glowing with that same soft, sickly yellow light. Everything was rounded, smooth, like being trapped inside the throat of some colossal cosmic bird. A strange, rhythmic humming vibrated through the metallic floor, making their teeth ache and their fillings buzz. And the smell! Oh, that awful, stomach-turning smell! A little like sulfur, a bit like old forgotten gym socks, and something else. Something faintly, horribly, like a million rotten eggs, all cracked at once. Lily tried to ask, "Where are you taking us? What do you want?" But her voice was a tiny lost squeak in the vast humming ship. They emerged into a cavern, a gigantic dome-shaped cavern. It was a city, but not like any city on Earth. Giant egg-shaped buildings pierced a glowing yellow sky ceiling, their tips almost scraping the top of the dome. More Yolkians, perhaps hundreds of them, maybe thousands, zipped around in their little personal egg robots, moving along glowing designated pathways. Some of the egg buildings were small, like bizarre oval bungalows. Others were huge, like weird egg-shaped skyscrapers that seemed to defy gravity. There were no trees, no grass, no cars, no people. Just eggs, eggs, and more eggs. And the creepy, gurgling, single-eyed Yolkians. Welcome to Eggtopia. Or maybe more accurately, Eggmareville. A wave of dizziness and sheer terror washed over Max. This was too much. Way too much. Too weird. Too overwhelmingly eggy. The air felt heavy, thick and damp, and it tasted faintly of old metal and something else he couldn't quite place but definitely didn't like. He grabbed Lily's arm, his knuckles turning white from the pressure. "I really, really want to go home now," he whispered, his voice cracking, actual tears welling in his eyes. But home, with its normal, non-egg-shaped houses and non-gurgling parents, felt a million light years away. A billion. The Yolkians, of course, didn't seem to notice or care about their mounting fear. They just gurgled, their single huge eyes blinking slowly, and pointed with their shiny metallic claws towards the biggest, most central egg structure of all. This central egg building was truly enormous, gargantuan. It pulsed with a slow rhythmic beat. A faint, ominous yellow light throbbed from within its translucent shell-like walls, making it look like a monstrous, beating heart. And a sound, a deep, thumping sound accompanied each pulse. Thump, 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 thump. Like a monstrous heart beating steadily in the very center of this alien, egg-obsessed city. An icy shiver, colder than the metallic floor beneath their worn-out sneakers, crawled up Tom's spine and settled in the back of his neck. Whatever was inside that giant pulsating egg, he had a terrible feeling it wasn't going to offer them cookies and milk. This was bad. No, this was beyond bad. This was catastrophically, terrifyingly bad. With gentle but firm shoves from their robotic captors, the Yolkians pushed them inside the giant pulsating egg structure. The air inside was even thicker than outside, almost unbreathable, heavy and cloying. It smelled overwhelmingly of feathers now, and something else. Something wild, primal, animalistic. The walls weren't solid, but a strange, semi-transparent, shell-like material, glowing faintly, so you could almost see shadowy shapes moving beyond them. Dozens, maybe hundreds of Yolkians were gathered in this vast central chamber, their little egg robots all facing the far end. They were chanting. A low, gurgling, bubbling chant that rose and fell, making the hairs on Lily's arms and the back of her neck stand on end with pure, unadulterated dread. Suddenly, the eerie chanting stopped. Abruptly, silence descended upon the chamber, a heavy, expectant, terrifying silence. Then, two enormous, glowing yellow eyes snapped open in the deep shadows at the far end of the vast egg. Eyes as big as dinner plates, burning with an ancient, hungry light. A sound ripped through the chamber, a sound that shook them to their very bones. Cluck! Cluck! Then a deafening, terrifying buck, buck, buck-aw! It was a chicken, but no ordinary farmyard chicken. Oh no, this was a monster, a chicken monster, easily 50 feet tall, with feathers like burnished steel daggers and a beak that looked like it could crush a pickup truck with a single snap. The Yolkians all bowed low in their egg suits, their green bodies quivering. Poltra! The name seemed to echo directly in their minds, a telepathic shriek, even though no Yolkian had spoken it aloud. This, then, was their goddess, their terrifying, feathered, all-powerful deity. Poltra shifted its massive, scaly dinosaur-like feet, and the very ground trembled beneath their sneakers, threatening to knock them over. Its giant reptilian eyes, cold and ancient, scanned the chamber, finally fixing on the three small, trembling human figures huddled together. The Yolkians began to offer up strange, glowing, pulsating orbs to the monstrous bird. It snapped them up greedily with a sickening crunch, its long neck darting out with lightning speed. Tom gulped, a dry, painful sound. Were they next on the menu? Were they the special human-flavored dessert? We gotta scram, like, right now, Max stammered, his face now the color of old chalk, his usual bravado completely gone, evaporated by the sheer enormity of the chicken monster. Lily, usually so brave and quick-thinking, was frozen solid, her eyes wide with terror, staring at Poltra's razor-sharp talons, each one longer than her arm. Tom, despite the fear clawing at his throat, scanned the vast curved chamber wildly, desperately. His eyes landed on a small, dark, rectangular opening near the base of one of the curved walls, almost hidden by a stack of smaller, glowing, egg-shaped offerings. A service hatch? A ventilation shaft? There! He hissed, his voice cracking, pointing a shaky finger. It's our only shot, our only way out. But Yolkians were everywhere, their green goo bodies jiggling with fervent devotion to their giant clucking god. They needed a distraction, something big, something loud, something to break the Yolkians' terrifying poultry-worshipping trance. Lily suddenly remembered the super loud safety whistle her overly cautious mom always made her carry. She fumbled in her pocket, her fingers clumsy and shaking with adrenaline. It was now or never. While the Yolkians were busy cooing and gurgling their praises at Poltra, who was contentedly crunching on another glowing egg snack, Lily took a deep, shuddering breath. She pressed the whistle to her lips and blew with all her might. Fee! The sound was deafening, piercing. It shrieked through the giant egg. The Yolkians flinched violently. Their green, slimy goo bodies wobbled and jiggled erratically. Some robots spun around in complete confusion. Even Poltra let out an annoyed, startled squawk. Chaos! Beautiful, wonderful, life-saving chaos! Now go, go, go! Yelled Tom. They sprinted towards the dark opening. One Yolkian zipped towards them. Max grabbed a discarded, slimy egg pod and hurled it with all his strength. Splat! It hit the Yolkian's robot. The kids dove headfirst through the narrow hatch, tumbling into a dark, dusty tunnel. It smelled absolutely awful in here. They ran faster than they'd ever run. The tunnel twisted and turned, sloping downwards. Suddenly, light! The chicken ship's main ramp. Their own small town was visible. They scrambled out, gasping for breath, and sprinted down the ramp. They didn't stop running until miles away, collapsing in Tom's messy basement. They were safe. They had escaped. But the Yokians were still out there.